2012. The place, spiritual holding area. Stage light fades up on a man. He is a spiritual detective, Brutus Abraham. As he starts to feel spiritual vibrations in the area, a young man appears. He is a godly man named Solomon. Detective Abraham chooses the mode of communication, which is English. He speaks to Solomon.
Explain yourself, Godman Solomon. What is the wisdom behind this intervention?
I have clearance, Detective Abraham.
Clearance from whom? I gave no such clearance.
It is not wise to trouble yourself on the matter, a matter which is no longer under your control.
I am working on a very special case, Godman Solomon. Your intervention is not needed and is not solicited.
I am aware of your special case. The tragic demise of Whitney Elizabeth Houston has sounded throughout the universe.
Then if you are aware of this case, then what is your relationship in the dealings of this case?
It was stated by the Creator that you may need my wisdom intervention methods to help in the transition of the divine spirit known as Elizabeth or Nephi, depending on the relationship in which the divine spirit communicated.
You seem to have done your research, my spiritual son, but is it not I who trained you in the God-man universal law for spiritual intervention and transition?
Indeed. I was trained to take a position to save the lost soul when the wisdom is not applied to the situation. With all due respect, it was felt by the Creator that after the uncompleted case of the earthbound spirit known as Don Cornelius,
the spirit took his own life. The intervention and transition of the soul is more complicated. The case is unfinished because of this evidence.
This is the reason I am here to intervene, my spiritual father, to gain insight into your method of spiritual closure. It has come to the attention of the Creator that you seem to find it somewhat difficult to close. This is a concern that the Creator has expressed. It was felt that because of our spiritual history, there would be more of a spiritual connection to closure as a result of the time spent.
Don't talk in circles, Solomon. Speak what you mean what you say. Who gave you clearance to intervene in this case?
Solomon points upward as if to the Creator. Abraham responds to this and speaks.
Creator, I look to you to do away with this unnecessary intervention. I am fully capable of getting this soul to make a transition. This is not the time for an intervention with my spiritual son. What entertainment is this? To force a prodigal son to return at a crucial time as this divine spirit's transition.
Respond to God's light.
I will honor your blessing and apply knowledge to your wisdom as requested, as you are my creator, all-knowing of what is best.
I have returned triumphant, my spiritual father. I successfully used my wisdom method to complete the transition of some of the greatest souls throughout eternity. I just left Michael on the moon, walking.
Yes.
Stop it! This is not a game. You take this work too lightly.
There was no offense intended, my spiritual father. Discussion is needed on the gospel of the divine spirits, who was known as Whitney Houston. I am contemplating that the method of use to move the spirit into transition is a method I've created entitled the method of wisdom.
What you fail to understand, Godman Solomon, is that your use of wisdom combined with knowledge has been in use throughout the ages for this divine spirit, whom has made amazing marks on history and civilization.
True. But her life was tragic and glorious at the same point in time. The spirit lacked the wisdom and judgment to complete her life path as a great healer. The gospel of her life and music is dear to all touched by her gift.
Godman Solomon, this matter is not open for spiritual debate.
Oh, but it must be so, my noble sage. It is true that the divine spirit named Whitney Elizabeth Houston loved God. But there was an earthbound love of the flesh that we all suffer from in our life on the physical plane. True. I myself indulged on the physical plane before my spiritual rebirth into this present existence. Upon my transition, I gave up all things of the flesh. For those who have read of my life path in the holiest of books will realize that I was clear in my self-realization to the needs of the flesh. This spiritual debate in which I present to you God men and God women in witness of the transition of this divine spirit must be made aware of the use of knowledge versus wisdom. Truly. If we have knowledge, how can one not grow in wisdom? If one does not experience or gain the knowledge, how can one gain wisdom if one has not partaken in the very act of physical law? That which one has no knowledge. Therefore, one cannot gain wisdom. There is physical and spiritual love. One must have knowledge of both in order to have the wisdom to move through an earthbound human existence. Therefore, the debate that wisdom is far more needed to enable one to apply the knowledge used to travel through the evolution of one's life path is necessary to debate. If one reaps what one sows, then would it not be better to know what one has sown before one starts to reap? Would it not be better for a farmer to have the wisdom not to plant a seed in a tainted hillside than to plant a seed in a fertile womb to bear a new divine mortal life? I have planted many seeds as the earthbound soul of Solomon. It was not my knowledge to be born on this plane to a spiritual father, whom was not my biological seed giver. But with wisdom, I am able to adjust to this divine plane of my Creator and proceed with the God assignment given to all, whom have lived many lives and made their final transitions into the spiritual light of salvation. This salvation that was needed for the redemption of my soul, which has left my flesh and blood vessels for thousands of years past. It is this wisdom that I possess that speaks to me clearly. And even as I am reborn, I was not born without the wisdom of my earthbound existence. This is what must be applied to the case of this divine spirit. True, there is knowledge of this new existence in which I have found my soul invested. This is needed, but the knowledge I have yet to retain gives all the more reason for the wisdom that I bring to this intervention be utilized to the fullest extent of the divine spiritual law. The overwhelming need for this divine spirit to give good love is the love, in fact, of the spiritual. Love of the flesh, which one has to have knowledge of in order to bring forth the wisdom, enables one to distinguish between the two. This divine spirit's need for intimacy, both in the physical and spiritual, was the mental reasoning used for the spirit's choice of the misuse of mind-altering substances. I, therefore, will stand my ground on my wisdom intervention method. Truth. It is with that wisdom that gives me the power of the God that is in me.
lights fade out on Solomon. This ends the scene. Act 1, Scene 2. Abraham and Solomon face off with a power energy match of knowledge versus wisdom. Bible effects are used to accept the debate.
It is true, God-man Solomon, that your wisdom is your spiritual birthright. I have knowledge of your rebirth, which overpowers your inherent wisdom.
Which is my inheritance and my right to share. Reveal to whom I choose to pleasure with my insights.
Truth, although after all that is said and done, I am your spiritual father, and have been for over 3,000 earth years.
True. Indeed, you are in fact my spiritual father, but my wisdom overpowers your knowledge.
Not where I can see.
Abraham moves energy with a lightning effect.
You who was once known as my spiritual father have been non-existent in my eyes for 2,000 of the 3.
Solomon moves energy to show his powers.
My obstinate prodigal son. What your eyes cannot see and fail to witness is that the work of spiritual intervention and transition is not a game to be played with like a toy.
Not to be manipulated and cast aside. A soul is living, it never dies. I will forever fight throughout eternity.
Solomon rushes towards Abraham, who stops him with his power.
You are a fighter. Truth. You are a God-man. But I am your God-Father.
Abraham releases Solomon from his force of power. Solomon falls.
The gospel of this divine spirit is how I plan to handle this transition intervention. The divine spirit's need for self-love, physical or spiritual, will not move her into the light of God's love. But a selfless love of a mother for her child is the knowledge based on the wisdom of the ages. As you see, my spiritual, disrespectful son, my love for you is not based on any wisdom or knowledge of your origin.
I, too, have heard her cries, felt her pain. That is why my wisdom intervention is best to complete her transition.
Abraham freezes Solomon into position.